What is leadership? Leadership is influence. I could stop there, but I won't. All of us have the right and duty to influence decision making and to impact results regardless of the industry we work in or the organization we work for. Creating a space for this inclusiveness of decision making is the sign of effective leadership. There is both an art and a science to leadership, and this is what makes it so challenging to define in a concise way. I have heard it said that I don't know how to tell you what leadership is, but I know it when I see it. This suggests that leadership is both something we do and something we are. We can influence and be influenced in our practice of leadership. One of my favorite leadership authors is Max De Pree, and he sums up the idea of leadership this way. The first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. The last is to say thank you. In between is influence. The ideas and concepts of leadership fill many pages in books, articles, and online discussions. A simple definition of leadership is inspiring others to achieve a common goal. But leadership is so much more than this. We often think a leader is the larger-than-life politician, CEO, or extrovert who can speak to a large group of people and excite them to action. We associate power and authority with leadership and assume that leadership is something that others possess. But leaders are also found in the quiet spaces of our organizations, and leadership is practiced throughout organizations regardless of one's role or level of responsibility. It does not take a formal title or formal authority to be a leader. It just takes someone willing to influence others and be an influence within the organization. Can you think of someone like this? The real beauty of leadership is that there are as many definitions of leadership as there are leaders. We all think about leadership in a slightly different way. If you Google the word leadership, you get about 4.7 billion results. Here are a few leadership definitions by some well-known people. Martin Luther King Jr. states, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." President Ronald Reagan suggests, "The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He or she is the one that gets the people to do the greatest things." Steve Jobs tells us innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. First Lady Rosalind Carter advises, "A leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but ought to be." Legendary football coach Tom Landry tells us leadership is a matter of having people look at you and gain confidence, seeing how you react. If you're in control, they're in control. Leadership author Warren Bennis writes, "Leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality." Former Girl Scout CEO Frances Hesselbein suggests, "Leadership is a matter of how to be, not how to do it." And finally, an ancient Chinese proverb tells us, "Not the cry, but the flight of a wild duck leads the flock to fly and follow." What do all these definitions of leadership have in common? The idea that leadership is more about others than oneself. Leadership is a team sport. Leadership is best practice in teams where influence can be applied and received. Leadership thrives in an organizational culture that values teamwork and the contributions of every member of the team. It was management expert Peter Drucker who quipped that management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. The difference, while subtle, is certainly important. According to the Harvard Business Review, there are 3 points that differentiate leadership from management. First, leadership is less about process and more about vision. Think of management functions such as budgeting and staffing, while leadership is about goal setting and driving change. Second, Management is more about organizing than aligning. Again, consider the processes in our organizations that require administration and maintenance, as these are functions of management. Contrast that with the idea of innovation and personal development, and you begin to see the differences in management and leadership. Finally, management is often a position in the hierarchy of an organization, while leadership is a skill set that can be practiced by anyone. As individuals within an organization, managers can be leaders, and those who practice leadership skills often have to also be managers. The two are not mutually exclusive. So let's think a little bit more deeply about the difference in leadership and management. Leadership is always practiced with other people, while management may only be concerned with specific organizational tasks and responsibilities. Consider a few distinctions. 1. Management of an organizational budget versus establishing organizational financial targets. 2. Recruiting people for jobs versus creating new job roles. And 3. Improving productivity and efficiency versus conceiving new opportunities. Again, you can see that these functions are not mutually exclusive, and one individual can be in a role that has responsibility for each of those. The importance is to know when to lead and when to manage. Leading when it is appropriate and managing when it is required can help teams perform much better, and individual members of the team excel in their careers. There may be as many leadership skills as there are leaders. Depending on who you ask, you will get a variety of answers as to what skills it takes to be a leader. From Indeed, the online employment site, comes a list of 10 leadership skills. These are not in any particular order. Decisiveness, integrity, creativity, flexibility, positive attitude, communication, relationship building, problem solving, dependability, and the ability to teach and mentor. Let's explore a few of the skills that have been most useful in my leadership journey. Integrity is one of the most important skills for life, not just leadership. All that we do must be done with integrity. Integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. The way I have described it in conversation with others is that it's doing the right thing even when no one is looking. Can you see my connection with Drucker's thoughts on leadership? Acting with integrity means understanding, accepting, and choosing to live in accordance with one's values. Integrity is revealed when people act virtuously, regardless of circumstance or consequence. It can often require moral courage to do the right thing. Acting with integrity leads to respect. Flexibility is another one of the most valued skills in any organization. Think about it. In your experience, who have you valued more as a leader and a coworker? Someone who was rigid and always had a right way to do things, or someone who was more open and accommodating to new ideas? We all know the answer to that. Flexibility refers to the ability to change with ease. In the workplace, that means adjusting to accommodate unexpected circumstances and being able to navigate situations that don't go as planned. It also means being flexible in your leadership style, which can make others more comfortable and feel more supportive. The advantages of flexible leadership are that we earn the trust and respect of other people, gain a wealth of insights and ideas that can bring us closer to our goals, and increase the ability to adapt in high-stress situations, which can ultimately generate strong outcomes. Communication is a skill that requires practice to ensure that we are doing it effectively. I reported to someone for a long time who was fond of saying that you can never communicate too much. I think there's some truth in this. There's an adage suggesting 5 C's for communication to be effective. It must be clear, correct, complete, concise, and compassionate. I would suggest a 6th C, continual. But communication is always a two-way process, and we must be receptive to feedback. Communication creates shared understanding, meaning, and a connection between you and your team, and this creates a solid base of trust. By honing your communication skills, you can provide clarity and direction to your team, ensuring goal alignment, and develop better relationships. Different from the skills that one practices as a leader are the various leadership styles that exist. 7 common leadership styles are transactional leadership, transformational leadership, servant leadership, participative leadership, authoritarian leadership, laissez-faire leadership, and situational leadership. Leadership styles are classifications of how one behaves while leading a team. New leaders with limited experience might adopt the leadership style of a recent or respective leader, while more experienced leaders may have developed a more consistent style. Let's discuss a few of these leadership styles in more detail. Transformational leadership is about cultivating change in organizations and people. The transformation is done through motivating team members to go beyond their comfort zone and achieve much more than their perceived capabilities. In this style, leaders gain the trust and confidence of their teams, encourage team members, and lead employees toward meeting company goals. This leadership style promotes psychological safety, prioritizes career development, boosts innovation and performance, reduces micromanagement, and nurtures a growth mindset. Transactional leadership is more short-term and can best be described as a give-and-take kind of transaction. Transactional leadership establishes roles and responsibilities for each team member and encourages the work to be completed as scheduled. This leadership style also assumes that teams need structure and monitoring to meet goals and that they are reward motivated. In this style, leaders can offer clarity and structure of expectations, which can help the team feel safe because they understand their expectations. Team members also have a clear view of what they get in return for meeting organizational goals. Situational leadership stresses the significant influence of the environment and the situation on leadership. Situational leaders change their management style to meet the needs of the situation or team. This leadership style is proactive and recognizes that change is the only constant. Situational leaders are often great communicators and use team feedback to make decisions. This can create strong relationships and help team members see and feel the value to the organization. Leadership development is the process of enhancing one's ability to perform in a leadership role within an organization. Many organizations spend a significant amount of time and money on developing leaders at all levels. Strong leaders are necessary for the growth and success of the team and the organization, and they should be willing to implement the necessary skills towards improving culture and productivity. Leadership development enhances company success, teammate engagement, and teammate satisfaction. It helps team members understand the leadership skills they currently possess and how to develop new skills. It also provides a means for clarifying one's leadership style. Leadership development is a commitment, not the act of attending a few training sessions each year. There are a few pitfalls that impact organizational success in leadership development. Forbes suggests 4 critical areas for potential failure in leadership development training. First, most leadership development training programs emphasize content, but it's really context that matters most. One leadership perspective does not fit all organizations. Focusing on a specific challenge and developing a leadership solution for that challenge is much more effective. Second, there is often too much reflection and not enough application. Leadership is a verb, discovered in action and demonstrated in application. To develop a leadership program with real impact, connect concepts to current events and tie ideas to action. And third, culture eats strategy for breakfast every time. Mindset may perhaps be the most dangerous enemy of a successful leadership training program. Focus on the culture of the organization and build from there. Finally, what gets measured gets done. To truly create successful leadership development, it must be tied to the outcomes of the organization and measured in a meaningful way. Accountability at the individual level is critical to successful leadership development. In conclusion, after all of this, what is leadership? A simple answer is that it's the culmination of many things that influence individual and organizational success. Let's close with a poem from an anonymous author that sums up the idea of what leadership is. The poem is titled, The Leader. Patient and steady with all she must bear, ready to meet every challenge with care. Easy in manner, yet solid as steel, strong in her faith, refreshingly real. Isn't afraid to propose what is bold, doesn't conform to the usual mold. Eyes that have foresight, for hindsight won't do, never backs down when she sees what is true. Tells it all straight and means it all too. Going forward and knowing she's right, even when doubted for why she would fight. Over and over she makes her case clear, reaching to touch the ones who won't hear. Growing in strength, she won't be unnerved, ever assuring she'll stand by her word, wanting the world to join her firm stand, bracing for war, but praying for peace, using her powers so evil will cease. So much a leader and worthy of trust, here stands a woman who will do what she must.